moving right along. So we talked about this portion of the train list. Talked about the actual horsepower, scheduled horsepower. Now we're going to get into the portion of the train list that lists all the cars in your train. The way this works is the cars are listed in your train from the one right behind the engine all the way to the rear. And you say, okay, well, that's probably common sense. And it's not really, because some railroads, the first car you see here is actually the rear car of the train. Okay, but on the BNSF, they're listed in order right behind the engines. So let's look at all this. You got your header. That's what I was telling you about earlier. If you go to find information on maybe some homework questions or quiz questions, and you can't remember which column is which, just remember to go right back, follow that back up to the heading and find out what it is you're looking for, okay? Sequence number, 1 through whatever it is, behind your engines. So that's pretty simple. Initials in car number, CEFX 54180. Okay. There's a lot of times students in here don't bother to look at their header, and then I tell you maybe something like, what kind of car is car number 2 on your list, right? And the very first thing they look at is this. And they look, and they look, and they look, and they look, and they can never find what kind of car this is in any of their paperwork. And it's obvious, right? That's not the car kind. That's the initials and number of the car. So make sure you're looking at the right header, okay? Car kind, like I said, it's always going to be 3 digits, okay? First one tells you what kind of car it is. You have a list of codes in your book that tell you all about the car kind codes, okay? What kinds of cars you're dealing with. Is it a load or an empty? So if it's an L, it's loaded. If it's an E, it's empty. The contents or the want date. Usually going to be the contents. What is the car carrying? Plastic. So that's a hopper car. It's a covered hopper. You ever seen these covered hoppers that carry plastic? They're in the form of little bitty plastic balls. Mm-hmm. You ever seen that? And they fill an entire hopper up with them. And when they get to the facility, they get sucked out of the car. And when they make, their Frisbee or whatever they make, they melt that stuff down. That's how they get plastic transported. Online destination, joint haulage agreement. That might be something like, let's say the BNSF. Let's say the UP, because I'm sure about the UP. The UP doesn't go any further east than Memphis. Okay? That's it for them. But let's say the UP could have a customer in New York. Right? They could have a customer in New York. And what happens when New York ships their product is the UP might have a joint haulage agreement with another railroad, say the NS, So the NS is the one that gets this from New York. And they wiggle around, you know, all the way around. And when they get to Memphis or somewhere at a interchange point, that's where the EP takes it over. Route at junction point. These are all railroads. Okay. CSXT, Norfolk Southern, I forget what these are. They're actual railroads though, short lines. Canadian National, so forth and so on. Gross tons. That's the car weight and the commodity weight. How much does it weigh? That is a very important column for you as a conductor. What does the timetable say about weight of cars on your subdivisions? There's a max weight for that subdivision. Okay? Usually 143 tons. Now sometimes a subdivision might be a little lower. So you got to make sure if it's a 143 ton limit, you don't have anything in your train that's over 143 tons. Now the train list and the computers, they won't do that figuring for you. So you have to actually go down the column and check that. Okay. If you do have a car on here that says like 144, you can't take the car. That's not to say that you have to necessarily set the car out of your train. You need to bring it to someone's attention. Remember that CYA thing. Bring to someone's attention, the yard master, and then tell him you got a car that's a ton over, and he'll make the appropriate calls and call train management and see if they can send the car anyway. If it's 1 ton, usually they say yes. Then you get their initials and go. They could say no, and you don't get a vote. You got to set the car out. Bottom line is this. Don't get so trapped into this idea of it's only 1 ton and they always approve it anyway. And then you don't ask anybody to clear that. You're going to get the chastisement if you're caught wrong with that. And if you have a derailment out there for some reason, you're really going to get dealt with because you had a bad train. Consignee, who shipped it? Who shipped the car? It's the company, right? Final city and state, where's the car going? Okay. Now look, just for example, how we build trains in blocks, remember? We build our trains in blocks. This block is going to Galesburg, right? That's where the train terminates. But you can see full well that's not where the cars are going to wind up. Okay? This car is still going on to, what is that, Maine or Massachusetts? That car's still going there, right? That's just where the train ends. They're going to hump these cars and put them on another train.
That's the part I was getting confused on.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see the block for set out at Galesburg.
Right.
Cool. So you said 25 out.
Cumulative axle count. Remember we talked about that, how important that is, right? Well, you can look right at your train list and you can get a running total of your axles. Now look at this blurb. Axle count 20. And then you got an E by it. Remember we talked about the end of car cushioning devices on the profile page? And I said you can just count the X's. And that's how many EOC cars you got. Well, this is just another place on your train list where they'll be listed too. So you could go down all the way through here, and if you had an E, you could count it all the way down. For me, it's faster to do it on the profile page. So those are all the header pieces of information on the train list. Now this one drops down to sequence 26. But notice this first though before we get here. At sequence 1, 2, 3, all the way up to wherever it goes. I'm at 18, right? But notice how this looks right here. All these cars, they're nice and neat, one right after the other, right? And then we get down to line 26, and you got a big mess on your hands, right? Here's the reason for that. This car, what is that, PROX 43006?
Yes, sir.
This car is carrying what? A hazmat. When you carry a hazardous material in your car, there's extra information you have to have about that car in your paperwork. So that's why you see all the convoluted mess underneath this car, okay? So,
That's what that FRA hazardous agent would check, if we hopped on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they want to make sure you got the right information. They'll check this among other things. But also, but now, here's where I don't want you to get confused. On a train list, the car is always listed first. And then any other information about that car will be underneath that. You understand? So I don't want you to look at this like this. That's the car number, and then read this information up here. This information goes to what car?
25.
Exactly. So don't forget about that when you're answering, some of your questions. Okay? And it's going to be the same, by the way, for intermodal multi-platform cars. I'll have the car listed first, and then each container of that car will be listed underneath it. So you always have the car first. Okay?
So I'm a little confused on the, 25th car, so it would be like the end of that set out list.
Let me see where you're at.
Yeah, okay, so, it obviously doesn't display it up here, so you check.
What is that?
PR.
I don't have my glasses.
It's PROX 43021.
And that's 25?
Yeah,
Okay, so all this information?
would be for that.
Right.
Okay.
That car.
That's pretty simple.
Okay.
Okay.
I just don't want you to make the mistake of looking at car 26 and then looking up above,
Right,
because
okay.
you're gonna have bad information. Because it's always listed below the car. All right, so let's just kind of look at some of this real quick. Where's this car going to?
26?
Yeah,
So,
Serena.
Ontario?
how many axles that car got on it?
4?
Okay. Everybody sees that, right? Is it loaded or empty?
Empty.
Everybody see that? What kind of car is it?
It's a tanker.
Tank.
Tank car. T, right? Now, you don't have to memorize these. You got a legend in your book. You can go look for them, okay? But yes, we do know that's a tank. What's a route at Junction Point?
It's Canadian. Whatever CN stands
Yeah.
for.
Canadian National.
There you go.
Everybody see that? Right there. Okay. Now let's look at the hazmat information. The first thing we're going to have is the car. And see these two sets of letters offset over here underneath? Remember what we talked about in the SSI in item 46? Special car handling information codes. And it had a laundry list of different codes. You don't know what FL is, do you? But you could know if you went to item 46 in your SSI, right? Now, I just happen to know that FL stands for a flammable liquid. Okay? Now, also, look at the next one. DS. You probably don't know what that one is either. but the SHI code can tell you. What is it?
Do not spot for loading other than hazardous last contained.
Okay? So any special car handling information would be there.
So,
You don't need to memorize the code. You got the book.
so for car 29, it says DV, so,
D-
for,
DV?
well, oh no, it has CL, DS, and it says do not spot for other than, like,
CL?
yeah.
All right, CL is another SHI code.
Mhm.
Stands for combustible liquid.
But then it says DV, like the last, there's 3 sets of,
SHI codes?
Two letters.
I don't know what the DV is. What is it
it
there?
says unit has been diverted, so,
Diverted?
yeah.
Okay. Is that what it says? You're looking at them.
Yeah, I
Versus-
just have a question. Are we supposed to know the two that you said, like FL and C?
No, I just know them because I've been doing it forever.
They're not in here.
They will, those flammable liquid, combustible liquid, those are special codes that pertain only to hazmat. And those codes would be in your hazmat book.
Okay.
We're gonna go over them tomorrow.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you're finding the sequence number and the car kind, where was that on those? Because I was looking down when you were.
Dang, I can't see nothing without the glasses. So you're looking for, so if I asked you what the car kind code is,
Yeah.
remember your header, right?
Mhm.
So that's the sequence number, car initials and number. That's the car kind code, T5H.
And then it just falls across.
Yeah, that's empty, or, it'll be loaded or empty.
Okay.
What's it carrying, and all the way across. Cool. That's under the route at junction point. And so the example I told you a while ago is if I asked you on this car on a quiz or homework, what is the route at junction point for this car? And you're looking all through here and you don't know and you can't remember. All you gotta do is go back to sequence 1 and just check the header again, see what column that would
Right.
run.
Thank you.
All right. Some other information you need to know. This is an empty, okay? This is a hazmat indicator. And all that is just something to catch your eye. Hazmat. Residue, last contained, styrene monomer. That's the chemical name. So if I asked you what chemicals in this car, that's where you're going to look. Okay? See this next line right here, 3, then UN 2055, that line. And you might want to take little notes on this, I don't know. This character here, that identifies the hazard class. When we deal with hazard materials, there's 9 numeric classes, 1 through 9, and there's 2 worded classes. So if I asked you what class of hazardous material, it's class 3. Now listen, I just told you there's 9 numeric, right? And 2 worded. So if I ask you, what class of material is in this car, and you look here and there is no number, but there's a word, that word's going to be combustible. Combustible is a worded class. Okay? You got one there to list that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So that's a good example for you right there.
Car 29.
This UN 2055, that's a United Nations code for that chemical. So basically 2055, that identifies that specific chemical. So if I looked on a placard, here's what that's good for. If I looked on a placard, right, over there, And right in there, all I had was the number 2055. That's enough information for me to find out the things I need to know about that chemical. Because we'll have a book and we can turn to that UN code, 2055, tells us all we need to know about that chemical.
You get that tomorrow then?
The book?
Or, no, we have hazardous materials, this one will be.
Yeah. Okay. Hazmat.
What was the
Information.
last section in the PG3?
Oh, packing group. There'll be either one, Roman numeral 1, 2, or 3.
Packing what?
Packing group. Okay, now this kind of fast forwards to the end of the train list. So go to the last car in your train list there. Everybody with me? All right. Lawrence, I have a question. Car number 100. What hazard material class of materials in that car? Yeah. What's the hazmat class? I can't hear you.
Class?
Yeah, what class of hazmat is in that car? You need a little help?
Yes, sir.
Anybody? Go ahead.
8.
It's class 8. Right here. This is the car, right? Go down to hazmat information. And it's class 8. Now that's kind of an example of what I told you guys when you first started this class. If we're giving things and you're not catching on, you make sure you know that before we move on.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
On the number placement, on car 26, the 3 is like separated by 2 like slashes, and then it's UN 2055. On car 100, it's 8, and it's, does that really?
Don't matter.
Okay. It's
All
a
the same
different-
thing.
Just a different display.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
So,
All right, so let's look at this. Remember at the first part of this train list, I told you we call it soup when we want our totals. So this gives you the same information that the front of the train list did. 100 total cars, 32 loads, 68 empties. That's the tonnage, that's the tons per operative freight, so forth, so on. Okay? 100 rail cars. But let me ask you a question. There's 100 cars on this train, right? Why is there 101 sequence numbers?
You're picking one up.
Because, yeah, no, look, they don't count locomotives. Here's the thing.
You haven't done it?
No.
Oh, really?
And on the BNSF, they list the end of train device as a car.
oh, come on.
Yeah. To each his own, right? NAQ 43165, that's the serial number of the end of train device.
I'm glad I'm doing it now. Because that's a question.
UP don't do that. And it just happens to be an air-powered device.
So if you have 99 cars, it gives you a 100 car count? That's here. Okay. It doesn't have to be 101 specifically?
No,
just-
it's gonna be the next sequence number. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I wouldn't,
Nobody ever knows that.
wow, cool.
Well, in fact, the first time I came to this college and I was going through this, took me forever to figure it out. Cause I wasn't used to that. I was on the UP.
That might throw off your well, not,
It won't throw off axles because remember the axles aren't listed
right,
back.
right.
All right, so let's keep going. Train totals, we already talked about all that. Hazardous car information. Kind of a overview. We've got 20 cars that are hazmat. Okay? 5 of them are loads, 15 of them are empties. So, if I asked you what's the train soup of the hazmat cars, that's what we're talking about, right? Well, how many hazardous containers do we have? None. Hazardous vans? None. And we know what those go on, right? Intermodal cars. That's the actual container or the truck trailer. Now this goes to what we call emergency response information. Everybody there? Here's what that is. Remember when I told you you have hazmat cars in your train? There's certain documents that you have to have. Certain pieces of information. First of all, you got to have a positioning train document, which this suffices for that. Your train list does. You also have to have emergency response information for that specific chemical that you're carrying, should you have a problem, like a derailment or something like that, or chemical gets on you or something. So you have to have emergency response information for every chemical you're carrying. Now, that's what this is. It's always listed at the back of your train list. So let's look right here. Car number 30. So if you went back to your train list and looked at sequence number 30, that's what you would see. That car number right there. Okay. So that's a hazmat car, because if it wasn't a hazmat car, it wouldn't be on this report. So what is it? Let's see. Well, it's vinyl acetate, isn't it? What's the class, is it?
3.
Class 3. This tells me everything I need to know if I have an emergency with this car. Okay? Now, I only need one emergency response for every chemical. So if I had in this train 10 cars, 10 different cars with this chemical in it, I'm not going to have 10 of these, right? I'm only going to have one. The only difference would be this. Car 30, this car number. Car 42, this car number. You see what I'm saying? And they will list all the cars in your train, and then they will give you one of these if it has the same chemical. You see what I'm saying?
So if it gives you like car 46, 733, 73, just it would
It's
double,
it's yeah, just one right after another,
okay.
and you'll only have one of these. And all that's telling you is them 2 cars in your train have this chemical, okay? Because there's no need of writing all this twice. Okay, not for the same chemical. Here's the general guideline. There's 2 places you can find emergency response information for the chemicals we carry. here on your train list, and then in another book that we call Emergency Response Guidebook, that all railroaders have to carry. Not only all railroaders, truckers have to carry it. It's the North American Emergency Response Guidebook. I'll show you one in a minute. You're going to get one tomorrow because you got to have it for hazmat. But anyway, there's two places. The preferred method for you to get your emergency response is from your train list. If you have your train list, that's what you're going to use. The emergency response guidebook is if you pick something up online that maybe is not on your train list, then you still have the guide for that hazmat material you pick up. Kind of as a backup. Okay? 30 cars, it coincides. Notice of rail cars or units containing hazmat. This lists all the cars in your train that have hazmat in them in some form or fashion. Now some people ask me, and you guys haven't yet, but some people ask me in here, this lists all the cars in my train carrying hazmat. Well, if it's empty, it's not carrying anything, right? Exactly. When it comes to hazmat, an empty car, a car that shows empty, can still have up to 3 to 5% of the commodity in it. So that's why I still listed on your train, because you figure 3 to 5% of 40,000 gallons. That's still pretty good, you know. 5% would be 2,000 gallons, right? So if I had 5% of my commodity in there on a 40,000 gallon tanker, 2,000 gallons is a lot of commodity. So that's why they're still listed, because there's still a danger with it, right? This shows you the sequence number on your train as it is right now. Now let me ask you a question, and it's pretty obvious. I leave with this train. 10 miles down the road, I set out 5 cars off the head end of my train. Is this still accurate? No. But you need to keep it accurate, right? So you're going to resequence it in pencil or pen. They give you places to do that, okay? Because, like I said, if the FRA sees your train out there and they see that 12 cars back, you got a placard, they're going to walk right up to your engines. Hey, let me see your list, right? And it would behoove you, if the 12th car listed on that list is that car they just looked at. You know what I'm saying? Everything has to be perfect when it comes to hazmat. So make sure you, if you set out cars or pick up cars, you have to recount your sequence. Now most of us, right where the train list starts at sequence 1, if we set out a car or pick up a car or anything, we will just pencil in the changes right along that sequence line. You know, just write and go all the way down the train list. That's what we do.
When do we do this? Because I know you said we're supposed to be paying attention to the other things while we're moving.
No, this is perfectly legal,
Okay,
going right down the rail. You're not driving, right? Now, here's when you don't want to do that, is when you're in a safety sensitive position, meaning you go by an approach signal.
Okay.
You really don't want to have your head down like this riding. You want to be looking for that stop signal. You know, those kind of things. If you're moving at restricted speed, the objective is out there, not here looking at paper. So there's certain times you don't want to do it, right? But, you know, just blowing down the track, clear after clear, you know, yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
No problem.
So all they need in this is just the sequence number of where it is.
Yeah, yeah, and any content you might have to write on it.
Just whatever you feel is necessary.
Yeah, just like, let's say I set that car out of my train. I could put over here, set out, and then the location. You know, just as a little note. And then, of course, Reese equals the rest.
So if you set out 5 cars, 100 would become 95 then?
Absolutely, yeah.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
What happens if you set out enough cars
Yeah.
where you're not allowed to have the next car in that position?
Very good. That happens a lot. But you answer it for me. What do you think you're gonna do?
I mean, oh, well, you are at a set out spot. You gotta change it up?
Exactly. So let's just say, for example, and tomorrow you'll know this. If you have a loaded tank car, hazmat, right? That car cannot be any closer than the 6th car to the engine. So it's got to have 5 cars buffer, right? Like he said, what if we set out 3 cars off the head end? Now, I only got 2 cars, right? My train's out of compliance. What are you gonna do? You gotta fix it. Okay? You gotta move that hazmat car to where it's gonna be buried by 5. That's the way you're gonna do that. And that's, you need to keep track of that too. That's kinda like having some situational awareness. Yes, sir.
Alright, another situation, you have a key oil train and you have 1 buffer car. And like, obviously it's like engine, like 3 engines, buffer car, and the rest of your train. How does that comply with like the 6-car rule?
Well, there's another little blurb to that rule that I did not mention. And the rule is train length permitting. Meaning, as long as you're using all of the available buffer cars. So if the only car I have is a loaded, a box car, that's sufficient. Okay. So it can be no closer than the 6th car to the engine, train length permitting. Meaning I have to use all the available buffer cars.
Do they run full tank cars or full
Oh,
tank
yeah,
trains?
all the time. Yeah. But now look, let's say for some reason, let's say that I got this oil train, right? And I got that 1 boxcar as a buffer, okay? And I go over a detector and the boxcar's got a hot bearing.
Oh, shit.
You gotta get rid of it, right? Now you're in trouble. Because we cannot go without that buffer car. Because we have another rule that says any car that's hazmat has to be covered at least by 1 car from the engine. And there is no train length permitting. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't have 1, that's it.
You just do this?
You just kick back,
Kinda, alright.
get paid, wait for the mechanical folks to get there. Listen, mechanical folks have the equipment, if they have to come out on that rail and fix that car right on the spot. They got all that equipment. Okay. Actually, it's pretty cool to watch if you ever get a chance to watch it. They'll jack that car up. They'll put jacks. You got jack pads on the car. They'll bring 2 jacks out, and they put it on the body of the car, and they hit that air to it, bzz, raises the body of the car, picks it up off the truck. They just roll the truck out.
Still coupled?
No.
No, they'll separate.
And they will-
Yeah, they got to separate it to do it. But so they'll have you move your engine forward, and then they'll roll that truck out, hook up on that truck, lift it up a little bit and take one of the sets of wheels off, the bad wheels, and put a new set on, roll it right under there, drop it back down, and you're gone. Nah, it takes a lot longer to do it than I said, than for me to say it, but
Do you know the reasoning behind the whole buffer car and tank car? Like, I mean, why?
well, combustible engines, flammable gas,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I didn't know if there was like a specific.
That's
level in
that's
there.
the reason. Yes, sir.
Is a buffer car like a specific type of car, or is it just like any other,
It's
whatever you
any
have?
other non-hazmat car, lower lumber, box car, hopper car. Yes, sir.
What happens if you have an empty intermodal?
Empty intermodal.
Yes. Because they're not allowed 10 in front, right? Or
It depends on the weight,
oh, okay.
right, of the train. And intermodal cars is, are you talking hazmat or are you talking about as a buffer car?
There's a buffer car.
Yeah, it would depend on the weight of the train. Now, if the weight of the train is not right, then yeah, you got an issue maybe. Okay.
Now for that, would they just make you stop there and another train coming through?
They're just,
Leave you
they're screwed just like you are.
with-
They put their feet up too.
I don't know what all you've done or seen, or like if any of these
A lot.
situations
A lot.
even happen.
You want some examples? I'll give you some.
All right.
Well, I just want to make sure that I'm not throwing out things that would never happen.
No,
Ever. But
This stuff happens. It happens. I had a train on my territory. It wasn't a hazmat situation, but it was a hot box situation. And the guy checked it, and it was hot. And it was hot enough to that conductor to where he didn't feel comfortable even trying to move the train to get the car to a track to set it out. So he called the dispatcher. I don't think this is safe to move, dispatcher. Okay. So the whole world is stopped. And they send mechanical folks out there, and an hour and a half later they get there and they start working on the train, and they did exactly what I just told you about jacking the car up and all that, changing that wheel right on the spot. All kinds of stuff happened.